Hello, this is Mr. Downing here to conduct the Val-ed training. The purpose of this video is for you to go through the training if you missed it or if you were out or if you just need a review. This is a mandatory training for all teachers. Essentially, what you will be doing as a result of this training is completing an evaluation of assistant principals and of Dr. Clifton. So this week, by April 11th, all teachers need to evaluate assistant principals, and after spring break, as I said, we will evaluate Dr. Clifton. So I'll be brief as possible, but cover all the areas necessary for you to be able to complete the evaluation. So Val-ed stands for the Vanderbilt Assessment of Leadership in Education. It is a multi-rater evidence-based approach to measure the effectiveness of school leadership. I'm going to skip through a few of these, but basically the shift now in terms of improvement for leadership is now focusing on leadership assessment. Typically, the case has been where you focus on professional development, mentoring, and standards, but now they want to look at leadership in terms of its ability to help students academically achieve and to strengthen school leadership. All right, so the learning centered leadership is the framework of this assessment. We're looking at leadership behaviors associated with student learning. So you're going to be evaluating certain behaviors, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. So these are the core components that you will evaluate APs and principals on: high standards of student learning, rigorous curriculum, quality instruction, culture of learning, a professional behavior, connection to external communities, performance accountability, and you will be assessing planning, implementing, supporting, advocating, communicating, and monitoring. So let's take a look at some of these. So in the assessment, this is what you will be evaluating or looking for, whether or not we have in place high standards for student learning. Now, the critical piece here is that the administration doesn't have to be hands-on with all of these. They can have people in place that are designated to see these things take place in the building. If that is the case, then you evaluate that accordingly. And you're also evaluating them as an administrative team. So does the team have these components in place? Are there individual team and school goals for rigorous student academic and social learning? Is there a rigorous curriculum that is ambitious, that has academic content provided to all students in core subjects? Do we have quality instruction in terms of effective instructional practices? Is there a culture of learning and professional behavior? Are there integrated communities of professional practice centered around student learning? And is there a healthy school environment? Connections to external communities? Do we have linkages to family and other people and other institutions in the community that advance academic and social learning? And do we, in terms of administration, have performance accountability? Does the leadership hold itself and others responsible for realizing high standards of performance for student academic and social learning? Is there an individual and collective responsibility among the professional staff and the students? And then these are the definition of the key processes. Does the administration do this? And this is what you'll be evaluating. Do they articulate the shared direction of coherent policies and practices for realizing high standards? Are they implementing, engaging people and ideas and resources to put in practice the activities necessary to realize high standards? Are they supporting? And you can read that there. Are they advocating, communicating, and monitoring? So that is the gist of it. So here's the instrument. So it's a 72 item assessment. You will only answer 36 of the 72. Essentially, two teachers, 36 scores will complete the 72 items. So you will only have 36 on your evaluation. So you're going to use an effectiveness rating scale, 1 being ineffective, 5 being highly, outstandingly effective. Now, after each rating, you will have to provide a source of evidence, and I'll talk a little bit about that. And there's only an online version of this test. So there's two types of reports: norm reference scores and criterion reference scores. So basically, when the results come back, we will see how our administration ranks with other administrators, which is a norm reference score. And then we will see a criterion reference score, which basically shows are they distinguished, proficient, basic, or below. We'll come back to the direction. So these are the sources of evidence that you will provide. It's basically a checkbox system, and you can use any of these sources of evidence to support your evaluation rating. So if you score them as ineffective, or if you score them a 2 or 3, what is a source of evidence that supports that rating? And you don't have to type anything in. It's just basically check boxes. Now you can use reports from others as a source of evidence, whether it's discussions, conversations, meetings, etc. Personal observations, learning walks, firsthand knowledge. You can use any school documentation, school projects and activities, and other sources. So let's take a look. Now, one thing I forgot to mention is that if you check off no evidence, you can only evaluate someone as ineffective or don't know. Because if there isn't any evidence, you can't evaluate somebody at a 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. Obviously, if you mark them ineffective, that negatively impacts the evaluation. If you just don't know and you have no clue, because the key to this is you're going to have a randomly selected administrator, someone you may not necessarily know a whole lot about. The don't knows don't count. So feel free to check off don't know if you just don't have a clue. No evidence. If there's no evidence, that automatically rates the principal or the AP as ineffective. Just think if you're in a classroom and there's no work on the board, there's, students aren't engaged, there's no instruction, then there's no evidence of academic growth. So no evidence, marking no evidence is also negatively impact the score. So here's an example of what the test looks like. So you'll have the leadership behavior here, such as how effective is the principal at ensuring the school plans for a culture of learning that serves all students. You will use a source of evidence. So do I know that the principal does this based on reports, personal observations, school documents, other sources, or there's no evidence that the principal plans for a culture of learning that serves all students? So then over here, I give a rating in this particular behavior. Is it ineffective? Is it minimally effective, satisfactorily effective, highly effective, or outstandingly effective? Or if I just don't know, I check off don't know. You can also choose more than one evidence here, as you see in the example, or you can choose one piece of evidence. So here's what I was talking about. If you check off no evidence, then you can only do ineffective or don't know. You won't be able to do a 2, 3, 4, 5 because it doesn't make sense. If there's no evidence, you can't check any of these. Either they're ineffective or you just don't know. And remember, as I said before, the don't knows don't count. So hopefully that's clear. And when you take the test, if you don't complete both sides, it'll give you an error message. You're going to have to go back and see which ones you missed because both sides are required in order to complete the evaluation. All right, so we'll have score reports that'll show the principal is distinguished, proficient, basic, or below. You'll see an aggregated effectiveness rating. In the end, we'll get a mean score. It'll show the AP or principal's performance level and their national percentile rank. They'll give us a comparison between the principal and the supervisor. So Ms. Harrison will also evaluate administration as well. And it's another comparison. And these are 6 areas that they'll share with us that are areas of improvement, red being basic, yellow being proficient, and green being distinguished. So this is just an example. And the idea is that they will focus in on those 6 areas for potential growth and professional development. And it's obviously a way to improve the strengths of the administrator. All right, and this is just another example that shows the examples of potential growth. All right, so again, you're going to take the assessment, APs by the 11th. So you can do this at home. What you will need to pick up from me is the code and the login. Forgot to mention this is a completely anonymous test, so you're not going to put in any personal identification information. Completely confidential. Once you use the code and the login, you're going to throw it away because no one else can complete it. or using that. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show you the website so that you're aware of what it looks like. Let's see, I think it's here. So yeah, you're gonna go to valed.discoveryeducation.com, and you're gonna click on take the survey. Make sure you're not on the admin side, but you're on the take the survey. So here you're gonna put in the ID that's on the form and the access code, and then you're gonna click start survey. And that's it. Once you finish the survey and submit it, that is all. Hope this tutorial was helpful. If you have any questions or concerns, feel free to email me or drop by 106. And that's it. Have a good afternoon and take care.